Hi everyone, and welcome to the Global AI Bootcamp behind the scenes, where we give you lots of insights behind the Global AI Bootcamp 2022. And during these episodes, we'll connect to various organizers around the globe, and they will talk about their bootcamp in their location. And on top of that, we invited some Microsoft program managers who are going to tell us all about the cool AI products that they're building. But before we start, my name is Sjoukje Zaal.
And my name is Sammy. And today we're finally reached Europe. We're back in our own time zone after traveling around the world the last 2 days. So we're happy now to be back in Europe. Now, today again, we are inviting two community leaders. But to kick off, we were inviting a program manager at Microsoft, Mernush. Hi, Mernush.
Doing today?
Hi, we are
Hi.
good. How are you doing?
Doing great.
We're very grateful you could join in our call today and
Thanks
make
for
some
having
time
me.
for this event. Could you
Thanks for having
please
me. It's a pleasure.
could you please introduce yourself? Who are you and what is your
Absolutely.
day-to-day job at Microsoft?
Sure. My name is Marnoush Semeki. I'm a program manager and tech lead of Responsible AI tooling team. Our team is on a mission to help data scientists, ML developers, and business stakeholders operationalize responsible AI, which is pretty much a very, very important topic, but a buzzword, but operationalize it in practice.
Okay, sounds very interesting. You're going to share some knowledge with us about responsible AI, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
so I'm gonna go through the tools that our team has developed in the past couple of years. I'm going to introduce our latest single pane of glass, bringing a variety of model understanding tools together. And I'm also gonna show you a demo.
Okay, well, I would say the
Nice.
platform is yours, and we're looking forward to ask you some questions after this.
Good luck.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I am so thrilled to join virtually in your houses or workplaces in Europe. As I mentioned, I'm a PM on the Responsible AI tooling team. And I want to start my presentation by kind of like debunking this debunking this idea that responsible AI is an afterthought. And we should train a model, care about its accuracy as much as possible. And then we should bring some responsible AI considerations into the loop or consider it as like something we do always as a secondary consideration. And so that's not true anymore. We are truly on a mission to make sure we all take responsible AI as a new AI. And whenever we're defining or designing or deploying an AI out there, we are ensuring that it's not causing harm for humans. We are understanding it fully. There's accountability around it, etc. So let's start by this claim that responsible AI is a must-have and responsible AI should be the new AI. Now, the complicated part is when we are, as ML developers, designing or developing AI systems or machine learning systems, usually the flow we go through is as follows. We start with some data. Then we go through the learning phase where the algorithm tries to take patterns out of that data. That gives us a model entity. And there are lots of techniques we all have learned in machine learning 101 courses we've taken about how to evaluate that model. And for instance, cross-validation accuracy is one of those methods. And finally, I do have a model, say it gives me whether my loan has got rejected or applicant's loan has got rejected or approved. And usually that's the life cycle more or less that we go through. However, the thing is, in the real world, there are lots of personas that are involved in this life cycle that have so many complicated questions. There is the ML professional or data scientist persona who wants to debug the model and understand how to improve it without knowing how the model is making its predictions, without understanding the nuances of these predictions. There's no way that this AI could kind of like understand, or this ML developers can understand how to improve the model. So this persona is asking, how can I improve my model? Is my model any good? What features or which model even should I use? Then we do have another persona a little more high level in terms of technical background, and that is that the business or product leader. And that person is asking, should I let this model be deployed? Is this model racist or biased? Are the predictions matching some experts' insights or not? Then we do have another persona, end users or solution providers. Think about the doctors providing solutions to the end users. Think about the bank, like employee providing loan approval or rejection to end users. Think about the end user himself or herself, the applicant, the patient. Those people ask, why does the model reject my model? Can I trust the predictions of this model before providing it to my patient? If you're a patient, you would ask, oh, like, why? Why am I predicted to be high risk for a certain disease, etc.? And finally, there is one that I have missed, but like the reason why I didn't put it on the slides is that persona is looking over the whole process, and that is the regulator persona or the government associate or whoever, or the risk officer, or whoever is looking at GDPR, California Act, any other regulations that might exist in your country or in your continent or environment. And basically that person is asking, is this model pair those standards? Is this model obeying or respecting those standards? And if yes, what is the proof? I would like to know about that. With all of that said, and all these amazing personas involved, which we deal with them maybe sometimes even on a day-to-day basis, the path to deploying responsible and reliable machine learning systems is still unpaved. And the reality is, even if you are a systematic engineer who really cares about satisfying all these personas and making sure you really develop your models responsibly and deploy them responsibly, if you do not have the right tools, then you often have to put together the spaghetti of scripts and tools. And we all know go-to-market is a key indicator in this area and in this era as well. And so that's what our team is hoping to do. Our team is hoping to pave this road for you and readily provide tools to you that you can then incorporate into your machine learning lifecycle. So let's go through these tools. The part that I'm going to discuss is many of you might have seen this high-level Microsoft Responsible AI principles. Those are fairness, reliability, and safety, privacy and security, inclusiveness, underpinned by two more foundational ones, transparency and accountability. And the tools that I'm going to introduce from our team are talking about the model understanding, which are the blue buckets. And those are the fairness, reliability and safety, inclusiveness, and transparency. So let's go through those buckets and those tools and see how they can help us understand our model better. And the way that I'm going to explain the whole set of tools under these high-level buckets is through this framing. Let me walk you through this framing. Usually when you have a machine learning model, the very first stage that as a data scientist or even as a business stakeholder you would like to do is to identify that model issues. Issues being fairness issues, issues being regular errors. And so we have the identify stage to just like show you the blind spots, to show you the problems, to show you the errors. Then you want to move forward to the diagnosis piece or diagnose piece. And that diagnosis helps you understand why those errors are happening. You already have identified something. Now, why those errors are happening? That's where the magic happens. That's where you can understand how to then move to the mitigate stage, because if you know the errors and if you know why they're happening, then you can do targeted mitigation in order to improve your model. Otherwise, you go brute force and you try a bunch of different expensive operations, and they might not as much work on your model improvement, and you might feel upset and have lost lots of time. Finally, after this like identify, diagnose, mitigate, which is around your model lifecycle, we do have to take action, or sometimes I want to call it make responsible decision stage. And sometimes those decisions are based on your data, but sometimes they're purely based on your data. So like you're looking at historic data and you're trying to digest some of the causal relationships, etc. So for the identify phase, we do have two tools, error analysis and fairness. The error analysis tool is motivated by the fact that usually we use one metric to talk about the goodness of the model. So we say the model is 73% accurate, which is great. That's a great proxy into your goodness of the model. However, if you only stick with that one number, you're losing important information as how the errors are distributed in your data. Often we do have pockets of erroneous cohorts and pockets of data with lots of errors in your data. And if you look further, you see that, oh, wow, there is a pocket of data only getting 42% accurate versus there's actually a pocket of data, great, getting 100%. So these are my blind spots. These are information I lose if I only look at one aggregate number. And so error analysis is hoping to give you these pockets of erroneous cohorts. And then once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Then you need to go and improve it. I will introduce that to you. There are two different views. I'll show that to you in my demo. Then there's the fairness piece. That's where we would like to focus on the notion of group fairness, and either with respect to harm of quality of service, which is when a system is providing different quality of service to different groups of people, an example being a face recognition or a voice recognition system that might fail to work as well for a certain group of people as it does for others, or harm of allocation when your AI is allocating information opportunities or resources differently across different groups of people. An example being a loan allocation AI, a job screening AI that could work differently for certain candidates, say white males compared to other candidates. So the fairness in AI, we provide a tool that focuses on harm of quality of service and harm of allocation with the goal to avoid negative outcomes of AI systems for specifically historically marginalized groups. And so here, as I mentioned, the focus is on group fairness. What you bring to us are some groups, like some sensitive groups, maybe ethnicities, religion, gender, um, uh, uh, whatever that might be in your use case. Sometimes it's even like with someone being a native speaker versus a non-native speaker in voice recognition system. So whatever sensitive is to you, you bring that to us, and we provide a variety of different metrics and rich visualizations to help you see the fairness insights of your model. And some case study that I can share here is the Philips, which used our fairness assessment toolkit in production. They had lots of data about patients in their ICU models, sometimes about the predictive analysis of ICU models, sometimes about admission analysis of ICU models. And they used our fairness tool to understand whether the tool is working similarly across different ethnicities, gender identities, and other sensitive groups. And another example is we had a project with Ernst & Young in the financial space. They had access to the real loan allocation data from a bank in Canada, actually. And they wanted to make sure that the loan allocation is not happening with respect to gender, ethnicity, or even although they had got rid of these features during training, they wanted to still bring it to us during assessment because they were worried that maybe some other factors have acted as a proxy into leaking information about gender or ethnicity. And they were able to get major improvements. I will talk about the mitigation. We do have unfairness mitigation algorithms too, and they used it in production, and they were able to decrease the disparity in favorable outcome across gender groups and ethnicity groups considerably. We next have the diagnosis piece. The diagnosis piece is when you want to learn more about your model and all the errors that you just observed. And there are certain capabilities underneath that. In my demo, I'll go deeper, but high level, two of them are interpretability and perturbations, counterfactual analysis, what if analysis. And in the interpretability piece has lots of techniques to help you understand what are the top key important factors impacting your model's decisions, both on the overall view, so like global explanation, how overall my model is making its predictions, but also it can help you look into individual data points and say, oh, for Mernouche, these are the top key important factors impacting the model's predictions. This is why her loan has got rejected, etc. And so we cover lots of different packages, different black box or opaque box interpretability techniques. You can bring literally any model to us, from traditional models to more advanced deep neural network models. And we also have a set of glass box techniques, which are see-through. So like we provide them, one of them is very state of the art. It's called explainable boosting machine, which then you can see through that and you can understand how the model has made its predictions. And an example of this is Scandinavian Airline. I don't know why the logo is dropped, but Scandinavian Airlines actually used our interpretability capabilities in production to look at the fraud detection model that they had around their loyalty program. And of course, you can imagine that you never want to kind of like say a very loyal um, user or a frequent flyer that, oh, you did some fraudulent activity, because that's such a bad experience for them. So you really want to make sure you understand the fraud detection model and you understand how the model is making its predictions to, as much as possible, reduce the possibility of misunderstanding by the model or erroneous results. Finally, in the diagnosis piece, we have counterfactual capabilities. That's when you want to take a look at a data point and you say, oh, what are the bare minimum changes to this data point that could lead to different predictions, opposite predictions by the model for this person. Say Marnusha's loan has got rejected. The bare minimum change might be that, oh, if you increase your income by 10K, or if you increase your income by 5K, as you would see, and have one more experience or year of credit history, that's when you're going to get your loan approved. So that's great for also decision making, that sometimes applicants come to you and say, what can I do to get approval from your AI next time? Then you can run counterfactuals and provide that solution to them. But also it's a great diagnosis piece, because first you can do that of counterfactual analysis and say, oh, like, seems like my model is putting lots of weight on this feature. All the counterfactuals are based on this feature. Let me go back into the interpretability and see whether that is proving that global explanation also identifies that factor to be important. And if yes, why is it happening? What's going to happen if I uh, try to provide some artificial things in the loop to put less weight on that feature? And we have mitigate and take action. We do have a set of unfairness mitigation algorithm in case you observed some fairness issues. In about 2 weeks, we're also going to release exploratory data analysis and data mitigation libraries. So think about it as exploratory data analysis is a great diagnosis piece too, where you can look at your data and talk and see the balance issues that the data might have. If you're underrepresenting a certain group, all those things will be shown to you. And then we do have data mitigation work or libraries that will then help you artificially rebalance your data in order to mitigate those data balance issues that you have. So stay tuned for that. And finally, the one of my favorite stages is when you work with the business stakeholders and you want to boost your decision-making processes. And at this point, you don't have a data. You just have historic data, and you don't have a model. You have just historic data, and you want to say, oh, like, what can I do based on this historical sales data to boost sales in my business? Or what can I do based on historic data of patients to really help this patient bring down the blood pressure? For such important decisions, sometimes it's better not to depend on machine learning, because models sometimes take up on uh, lots of correlations between features. And when you look at interpretability, necessarily those factors might not be the real world drivers of an outcome. And so here you want to look into, oh, like, if I have a sales scenario, will providing discount, or will providing a certain incentive to the buyer really increase the sales in the real world or not? And so that's where the causal piece comes into the scenario. Um, I'm putting this for you on the screen for a second before transitioning to my demo. There's some useful links if you want to screenshot that. What we have done is we have brought all of these capabilities under one roof so that you don't have to onboard too many different tools. So there's a single pane of glass called Response by Dashboard, which is customizable. You can learn more about it in the open source AI show and the blog post that I've written. And also, this has been integrated into the Azure machine learning capability, currently in private preview. If anyone is interested, message me with Azure Machine Learning subscription IDs, and I will whitelist you. And it's going to move to public preview at Microsoft Build, which is happening in a month. Our next steps would be to expand our portfolio of tools to non-tabular data, so better support of image and text scenarios. We're currently working on that. We are working on a PDF report for non-technical stakeholders. So as a data scientist, as you generate these dashboards, then you can expand that for non-technical stakeholders. And it's like a very simple to read and insightful PDF report for them. We're working on enabling model monitoring at scoring time with these tools. So not just for evaluation time, post-training, before deployment, but also once you deploy, how can you monitor? And we're also working on a compliance infrastructure for storage and audit of models. With that, I would love to show you a quick demo. This one, yes. So first, I'm going to walk you through the model debugging, basically the identify, diagnose, mitigate stages. Mostly, I'm going to focus today on identify and diagnose, and I'm going to say a few words about how this tool, for instance, helped me do the mitigation. This is a housing data set. I am predicting the prices of the houses. This is a data set I got from Kaggle. And what I am seeing right now is I turned it into a classification case of predicting whether the houses would sell for more than median or less than median. And you can imagine it's such important information for sellers. Like, I want to predict it accurately, because under predicting a house price could impact the profit of the seller, and also his or her ability to maybe secure finances from the bank in terms of loans, etc. So it's important for me to debug this model. I turn to the response by dashboard. First, I start with the diagnosis piece. There's no fairness element here, so I just go to the error analysis piece. And the error analysis, upon loading it, it shows me two views. One view is the heat map view, where I can look at up to two features at a time and see how the errors are kind of like concentrated. Seems like maybe like there are some erroneous pockets, some more than others, and then there are some other pockets that have zero. So if you have some factors on top of mind, you can take a look at that in the heat map and see how the errors are distributed in your heat map. Then we go to the tree map, which is my favorite part, because the heat map or the tree map is providing you with that view of erroneous pockets. So you can look at the nodes with it has trained an error tree for you, and you can look at the nodes with like so much red color and also full red color. The fullness talks about error coverage. So this node is in charge of 75% errors that are happening in your whole data, and that's the houses that are big, above living room area is big, but also old. So the old houses are getting a high error coverage, but also high error rate, meaning out of the data points falling in this cohort, 25% of them are getting erroneous predictions. And so I saved that as my error old cohorts, old houses. And in contrast, I do have this node. This is still big houses, but newer houses. For them, only 6% errors are happening. So that's why the fullness is not as much compared to 75%, 21% errors happening here. And compared to like 20 something percent errors that you saw here, 6% errors are happening here. So I saved this as my new houses. And I know that the model is actually treating them much better. And then I move forward to kind of like the diagnosis piece. I look at the model statistics, and I can see the prediction probability of selling for cheaper for all data, but also for these two cohorts that I just transferred. For the new houses, I do have a lower prediction probability of selling, a prediction of cheap prices. But for my old houses, seems like I do have a high probability of selling for cheap price. So seems like my old houses are systematically getting the prediction of selling for less than median, so selling for cheap value. But then that's an error cohort, so they don't deserve to be predicted as cheap. So this model probably doesn't know how to recognize expensive old houses, like those ancient houses that are actually having historic values. And that's something that I can come to the data explorer and say, show me the ground truth values that I had behind this prediction, this um, old houses versus new houses. Maybe I'm underrepresenting expensive old houses, and I can verify that here. I do have less representation of expensive old houses compared to new houses. Most of my ground truth values that I used for training of this model actually are expensive houses. So no surprise that, first of all, the model is more accurate than new houses because I'm throwing one class to add it. And so even if the model goes and predicts always these houses are going to be predicted as more than median, it's going to get a better accuracy. Versus in my old houses, I'm having underrepresentation of expensive houses. And so one action item, targeted mitigation for me, is either go and use the mitigation library that we're going to put out there in 2 weeks to rebalance this, or go and collect a lot more data representing expensive old houses. Finally, I come to the feature importance. Let me turn this off for a second, but I can see that what are the top key important factors across the groups. Maybe like one factor is more important for the old houses versus for new houses. Seems like fireplace is playing such a more important role for old houses compared to new houses. But like just looking at these top key important factors, I can also see how this factor is impacting models prediction by clicking on it. And in this case, I do have the importance of this overall finished quality of the house towards the prediction of cheapness. And then I can see the cheaper lower overall finished quality is impacting that prediction of cheap positively. The higher overall finished quality is impacting the prediction of cheap negatively. So that's another good proxy that like this is now aligned with my intuition that the more high quality, probably that high quality will play a role in towards like predicting this house to be selling for more than median or negatively for selling less than median. And so that's aligned with my intuition. And so that's another good proxy. I can look into different factors and see whether those make sense to me. I do have individual feature importance or local explanation. whatever cohort you're on, you can see the predicted incorrect or correct predictions, and click on maybe like one or a handful of maybe incorrect predictions and see what are the top K factors positively or negatively impacting those predictions. And that helps you answer, oh, for this person, for this house, for whatever the data point is to you, what are the top K important factors and how the model is making predictions. And finally, in the model debugging diagnosis piece, you have this what if counterfactuals, which are also great for taking decisions. Say, this person comes to me and say, oh, Marnoush, you have predicted my house to have a very high probability of selling for cheap. What can I apply to my house in order for your model to give me the opposite outcome? Or like just for debugging purposes, what could be different for this house so that the decision of the model could be flipped to actually high probability of sell for more than median. And so this is the original data point, like this is the lot frontage, lot area. Dash means no change. These are all the counterfactual data points. So it says, oh, no factor else changed, but your overall finished quality improves from 5 to 10, or 5 to 10 plus lot area increasing, or 5 to 10 and overall condition also changing. You know, like you can see what is the bare minimum change you can apply, and we show you by default 10, but you can overwrite this number and see how many numbers you want. So we show you what are the bare minimum, what are the 10 data points with bare minimum change from your original data point for which the model is predicting opposite value. And you can do free-form what if analysis too, or like what if the lot frontage was different, what if the lot area was different, what if the overall finished quality was 9. I'm going to save this as a new counterfactual data point, and you can see then the model would have predicted the opposite. 2 minutes, I'll go to the decision making with causal analysis as well. This is my causal view. I passed the actual data to it. No model is here. I just passed the actual data, historic data of this data set, like all the data. And so what it is telling me is basically tells me whether these factors that I have passed to the dashboard, like number of garage cars, overall finished quality, fireplaces, etc., have a causal impact in the actual sales price of the house. So this time I passed the actual housing numbers, values, and so it tells me that, oh, increasing the number of garage cars by 1 unit would impact the actual housing price on average across your whole data set, would impact it by 19.6K. Or increasing the overall finished quality of the house by 1 unit on average has an impact of 17.8K increase in your housing price. So that's the overall or aggregate causal effect. I can now do it for an individual data point, say this house, how changing the garage for this house would impact the housing price. So increasing the garage car, like adding one more garage car for this house would increase the price with 48K positive, versus if I add one fireplace, that has a minus 31K impact. Maybe that's because the way that the heating works in this house, or maybe it's too small that there's no point in adding a fireplace, or maybe that's a fire hazard because of the materials of the house. Whatever that might be, the causal model, the double machine learning, which is powering this causal model, is predicting that this don't do it. That's going to impact it negatively. And you can do causal what if too. Bear in mind, causal what if is different from the what if I explained here. What if that I explained here is like telling you what like say changing a factor, how much that changes the model predictions. But we all know that like there are correlations in the model, etc. But the causal what if is like, oh, what if I change the overall finished quality of my house? Then you can kind of like depend on the fact that, oh, then the price will change from 147K to 154K. And you can actually act on it. You feel more comfortable to act on it because this is causation, not correlation. And finally, we do have this cool feature, treatment policy. Like I'll explain it on you for you with screen porch, and then like let's for a moment imagine that this screen porch was discount, and you want to know to what customers to provide discount to increase sales, and to what customers maybe it doesn't make sense at the moment to provide discount. And so we provide a table to you that shows how to treat different cohorts of data. So for instance, for screen porch, it says if the overall finish quality of the house was low and the basement square footage was low, then go ahead and shrink or remove the screen porch. But if the basement square footage is high, no matter if the overall finish quality is low or high, then go ahead and expand the screen porch. So if you go with this treatment policy that we provide to you, that's how much on average gain you see on each house, versus if you go with like always go ahead and build a screen porch. So you can see that going with our treatment policy that is recommended to you, which is like an intervention that we customized for you, is better in terms of the gain that you're going to get. And finally, you tell me, Marnoush, I'm a developer or builder and I can only treat 5 houses. What are the top 5 houses that are responding the most to this treatment of screen porch? In a sales scenario, it could be that, Marnoush, I want to provide a great discount to people, but I have limited resources and budget. So I want to only provide discount to 5 customers of mine that are going to respond the most to this discount in terms of transition, sales,
Hi,
conversion, whatever
Marnoush. Sorry to
it is.
interrupt you. Just a
That's it.
quick.
I'm done.
Hey, sorry. Is it possible to maybe go to the summary because we're almost
Yes.
closing in
Well,
time and we still need to speak with some other guests, and otherwise we don't
yes.
have extra
So
time for
that was
them.
pretty much it. That's it. That's the last feature. I'm going to bring this back. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, and use these tools in your machine learning to build trust. That's it.
All right. Thank you very much, Marnoush.
Great session.
Thanks for
Yeah.
having me.
We need to give you a time slot with way more time to go more in detail about this reporting because it looks really interesting, and responsible
Thank
AI
you.
is just so important. And I think there's a lot of advocacy still needed to make it clear to all new AI users and projects that are coming up.
Amazing. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining and making time for us.
Thank you
Of
so
course.
much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. And with that, it brings us to our last visitors today in the studio, our last community leaders. So with that, we welcome Alyona, Terry, and Kavita into
Yes.
our call here. Hey, Alyona.
Hi.
Oh,
Ah, there we have all of you. How are you guys doing?
Good, thank you.
Good.
I'm not
We'll
bad,
start-
thanks.
Sorry, what did you say, Terry?
I said I'm all good, thanks. Not bad at all.
We'll start from the top and go downwards. And if you can introduce yourself and what do you do in your day-to-day job? So, Alyona, the word is yours.
Okay, so now I know I'm on top. Cool. What I'm doing on the day-to-day basis, I have a full-time job as a principal AI and data engineer at Linkit. It's a Dutch company located in De Meern near the Utrecht. On top of it, I'm Microsoft AI MVP, and on top of it, I also organizer of PyDays Amsterdam. I think probably that's it for now, and I think I can pass it to the next person.
We'll go to the left side to Kavita.
Right, yeah, I'm Gavi. I'm a principal data scientist, also full time with Advancing Analytics, a great company, right? And I do lots of fun data scientist stuff. We're consultants, so we work with a lot of different companies out there. And yeah, that's me. Also, organizer of Global AI Bootcamp London.
Yes.
Kavita, do you dare to say anything else about advancing analytics with Terry next to you?
I mean, to be honest, I'm biased. I love the company, so yeah, I'm not going to say anything otherwise.
All right. Well, then we go to Terry. Terry, who are you?
Hey, I'm Terry. So yeah, one of the owners of Advancing Analytics. Also an AI MVP, and love all this stuff. Really proud to be part of the organizers this year.
Cool.
Nice,
Right.
nice. So then I'm very curious, Kavita, how did you organize the Global AI Bootcamp this year?
Well, Terry twisted my arm and said I have to do it. No, I'm just kidding.
Of course.
Now, Terry mentioned it, and it just seemed really interesting, right? It's what better if you could share the knowledge that we have with the community? And I thought, amazing idea. So, yeah, I've been just doing some work in the background, trying to get it organized, and I've been having lots of fun interacting with lots of our speakers as well.
Nice. Was it a virtual bootcamp or an in-person?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a virtual boot camp. In that way, we get to reach out to many speakers around the world as well who've come forward. So, yeah, we're going virtual this year.
Yes.
Ours is on the 25th of March, so we've not been yet. We're on the run up.
Okay.
Exactly.
Almost there.
Yeah.
Almost
there.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. And Aliona, how did you organize it this year?
We had an online event, fully online event. It was at 15th of January. So I would say we made like an exception in our agenda. Usually we have events third, fourth week, actually of the month. But in this case, it was completely new for us. It was on top of it was Saturday. So it's also something new. And it was a 4-hour long online event. And we focused solely on workshops. So literally what we were doing 4 workshops. Yeah, also a lot of fun with some online debugging sessions with people with different, let's say, level of knowledge. So it was really, really interesting to see how it's evolved, actually.
Now you need to explain me what an online debugging session is.
It's really, really, really simple. When somebody has questions and keep bombarding you with a question, you say, okay, let's bucket all those questions. And if you have if 3 or more people ask the same question, let one of the person just share the screen and just walk step by step to see what's going on. And we were streaming everything back to YouTube. So for those who are interested, you can always get and watch it back.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
Well, that
Yeah.
brings in also the participation of the audience, of course. Kavita
Oh,
and
yeah.
Terry, do you guys already have an idea how to get more interaction from the audience with the virtual events? Because we know with virtual events it's not always easy. So you bring in something special, or
Yeah, it's always a tricky one. I think one of the great things that remotes had is, remote quizzes are always a great thing of just kind of reconfirming what people are learning and trying to reset the scene. So hopefully we can try and drop some quizzes throughout the day, keep some open spaces for Q&A, and try to get a good level of audience participation, because it is always a tricky one. We've gone for a Friday over a Saturday for our one, just so hopefully people can participate whilst they're working and drop in and drop out between a jam-packed session of meetings. I'm sure that's what everyone else has, and see how we get on.
Great. Great.
Okay, cool.
Okay, Aliona, one question for you, and I'm laughing because I already partly know the answer. How did the Global AI Bootcamp support your bootcamp this year?
Oh, I would say greatly. First of all, the first time we decided not to use our own made workshop, but to reuse the workshop provided. It was really nice to see the new one. Just like a side note, we had some support in October previous year, because we had our first ever offline event, like in 2 years, literally. And there we were like playing around with Azure machine learning and just like doing some trainings with it. Also like learning how to deploy, for example, Azure machine learning with Azure functions. But this time, the 2 nice workshops were added. One was how to build a cognitive search, and another one how to build a bot. So using Bot Composer. So I would say that was actually support from the Global AI in this case. And on top of it, credits as well. So thanks a lot.
And that was why I was laughing, because we were talking to each other on the phone on Saturday afternoon when there were some issues with the Azure passes, but we solved it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe a totally different questions. We know diversity is very important. Terry and Kavita, is there anything special that you're trying to do to get, for example, a balance between the different genders and speakers?
I mean, I didn't have to do very much, to be honest. And it looks like we have reached out to a diverse group of speakers. So maybe a bit of luck on our side. But yeah, we've managed to capture the attention from a diverse group of speakers this year.
Oh, that's nice. It means things are starting to change. If you don't need to do a lot of effort, then it means it's looking good. And for you, Aljona, because you are part of PyLadies, does that mean no man allowed?
Oh, no. I would rephrase it. First of all, like we are Dutch chapter. probably one and only, let's say, that is active, at least in the Netherlands. I would say we are really happy that we could impose our own policies. So in our case, despite the name Pie Ladies, I always say it's not about ladies and pies. It's nothing to do with both. It's mostly about Python and love to Python. That's it. So we are actually open for everyone who is interested in Python. For us, it doesn't matter who you are. We are more hands-on chapter, so we usually running workshops every month. It doesn't matter what. And on top of it, actually what we try to do, we try to make sure that at least 10 out of 12 of our workshops are given by female or non-binary people. So literally what we do, we give the podium and we let these people shine. And we also encourage first-time workshop givers, because it can sound really, really scary. How could I give a workshop if I know it? Like if I have really rudimentary knowledge? No, you can, and you can inspire other people. So I would really say that I'm really happy to see how, let's say, the first time speakers are growing into, like full blown time speakers that encourage to participate the new people on top. So yeah, that's what we do in actually. So not only ladies, men are allowed, men are welcome, and other, let's say, people who identify themselves as men as well.
Okay, great.
Well, it's also nice how you still get that big crowd together. That's a nice thing.
Yeah.
Okay. What are your plans for the coming months? Well, for our people here on the bottom, we know we have a 25th of March already. Any other events that are coming up after this? With your own, well, not specific with the AI community, but with other communities, for example, your own community?
Yeah, so we've just had a big one. So we had SQL Bits last week in the UK. So big data and AI conference over 5 days. So we're all kind of, readjusting to normal life after a week of overeating and drinking and sessions. So we've got that. We've got a couple of other bits, but it's a fairly quiet calendar at the moment for myself.
Okay.
For you, Aljona, any other events coming up soon?
Of course, we have already the whole line. The next one will be 29th of March. It will be Introduction to Graph Databases and to Open Source Library GQL Alchemy. So probably CQL Alchemy. GQL Alchemy is about to actually work with graph databases. So really looking forward. And after that, we had Korean Python event in April, and in May we have neural search event.
Nice.
Okay, sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Any place where we can find this information?
Yeah, in our case, just if you just type Pie Ladies Amsterdam, you will be capable of finding it. There are a lot of places, Meetup, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, where you can find it.
All over social media.
Right.
Good marketing strategy. Yeah,
Indeed.
great.
All right. I have no questions anymore at the moment.
No, is there anything that you would like to share with us which we haven't already asked?
To thousands of viewers, what do you want to share? I'll give you the platform first, Harry.
Yeah, so one of the things that we've launched recently, which hopefully we're going to try and bring some of the global AI speakers in on as well, is we kicked off a new podcast recently called Totally Skewed, which is all aimed at data and AI. So please go and check out that. So we've got that kicking off. So I think we're 2 episodes live at the moment. We've got a few more to come, and yeah, it's exciting. It's good to be back doing podcasting again after paused for quite a while.
Okay, great.
Right.
Sounds very interesting. I will definitely check it out. Yeah. Kavita, do you have anything additional to share?
I mean, we've got a lot of blogs, right, that we constantly love to share with the community. It's all available on our website, YouTube videos as well. So just to finish what Terry said, we've got blogs and YouTube and the podcast.
Wow. Wow. Lots of stuff going on. Great. Nice. Aljona?
Just what was really interesting for me, we don't have podcasts, we never tried it. So probably we can pair up with somebody just to try it out, just the first pilot to see whether it makes sense to do. What I want to say, literally, one thing that I forgot to mention, But it's really nice to see how our events change the perspective of the viewers. So before COVID, we were doing offline events, we always have really skewed auditoriums. So we have literally like 85% and 90% were mostly like female or non-binary, and like this 10% or 5% were mostly males. And they say that if you ever visit such events, your world will be completely different next day, because then you can feel and see what usually people see on regular meetups, when like with these beers and pizza, and where you're like alone, you don't know what to do, and it's completely, let's say, back I don't know, like backwards or something like this. So this experience teaches them so much, so they can try to put themselves on the position of this person and try to see the world via the, let's say, eyes of this person. So I would highly recommend to try this experience for as more people as possible. And also for those who wanted to help somehow but don't know how, from time to time we look for mentors, for example, for our boot camps. And I think it's not only valid for our community, it could be valid for other communities as well. And on top of it, we usually try to help different open source Python communities, for example, with pull requests. And for those who are afraid to make a pull request, you can help with documentation. And that's where a lot of help is needed. So yeah, that's what I want to share.
Okay.
Great.
Well, linked to that, I do still have one question. And one of our other guests, we were talking about the attendees, and he was telling us that one of his attendees was actually a dentist. Wanted to learn more about AI. Do you have any of those examples of attendees like, what are you doing here? It's mostly we are expecting technical people or people who want to use AI within their organization. But yeah, a dentist, of course, might be creating quite interesting projects with a dentist. How would you use AI at a dentist? But did you have any attendees like that?
Not as interesting as a dentist, to be honest. That's that's really interesting.
Yeah, it was. That
And-
was.
I always love anybody who turns up to an event. I think one of the great things about the series of events is that you can get those sorts of people. You can get students. You can get people who are completely green to the field, and who can just take away heaps and heaps. Like everything is new and everything is great and completely overwhelming. But also I think it's also great that you've been able to foster a community where people can come along to stuff like that without the barrier of not knowing a great deal about technology and still get started with it. It's awesome.
It's always good to see their faces like, whoa, that's possible already.
Yeah. And it's great, like blowing people's minds is great, right? That's what we love to do. Like teaching a load of really technical people, they're like, yeah, okay, I get this. You're like, no, but the people whose minds are blown are so much more fun.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right.
I couldn't remember anything. Yeah, anything like the dentist, because eventually there was event dedicated to AI in healthcare, so that's probably be a good place for this person. But I want to say that in our case, we do like say events on different levels. We have more like for beginners when we just give it like a taste of something. For example, I want to be a data scientist. What are the next steps? Like how it looks like. Or it could be otherwise specific to a specific library. For example, I want to use this library for this. But also what I see, there are a lot of people who wants to change their career to technical path. And these people, they usually do not, let's say, they couldn't fully estimate how talented are already. So they just small changes needed to reuse all this experience they have. And they could become, for example, the dentist with some Python knowledge could be one of the, I don't know, like one of the most awesome person as well. So if you just empower such people with just like simple tools, it can bring much more to the whole world, I think.
True.
Yeah.
I think with
Totally
that's
agree.
a nice closure
Yes.
to this interview. All of you, thank you very much for joining us today, for
Thank
all the
you so
efforts you do
much.
for the community. We wish you all the best with any efforts that are still coming up. All the best with the bootcamp.
Yeah.
And
Good luck.
next, in 2 weeks,
Awesome.
not this
Thanks,
weekend, but the
team.
weekend after that. So thank you all, and I hope to see you all soon again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Well, with that, we're at the end of all the episodes. We
Yeah.
finished behind the scene, and Well, now we were ending with Europe, but we went to down under, Australia, New Zealand. We went to Africa. We went to Asia. We went to North America, South America.
Yeah.
So we went all around the world, spoke to how many community leaders? 6, 12, 13?
12, 13.
13
Yeah,
different
magical number. Yeah.
Exactly. And 6 different project program managers of different kinds of topics within the AI industry at Microsoft.
Yes, we learned a lot from them with all their knowledge and their awesome products that they are building. Really great.
Exactly. So if you want to review these videos, they will be all available on our YouTube channel. So for sure, have a look there. There are many other different talks that go more in depth about specific services. Have a look there. So if you want to also know more about the Global AI community, go to globalai.community. If you want to help organize these kinds of boot camps, well, you can find the correct links there also, or to get in touch with us.
Yes.
So with that, it's finished. We thank you for joining and watching, and hope to also see you on another live or in-person event.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.